The Marriott Rewards app notification popped up on Lauren's phone at 2:47 a.m. while I was getting water. Thank you for choosing our downtown Denver location. Except Lauren was supposedly at her sister's in Boulder, helping with the new baby. My mouth went dry, the glass trembling slightly in my hand, as I stared at her phone charging on the nightstand, the screen already dark again, like it had never happened at all. I stood there in our bedroom in the house we'd bought together 11 years ago, when interest rates were still reasonable, and we thought 3 bedrooms would be plenty for the family we'd planned. The water glass sweated cold against my palm. Outside, the neighbor's motion light clicked on probably just a cat, then off again. Lauren's pillow still held the indent from 2 nights ago, the last time she'd been home. She'd been distant then, distracted scrolling through her phone with her thumb moving in that particular rhythm I recognized as typing and deleting, typing and deleting. That should have been my first clue, really. But after 14 years of marriage, you tell yourself stories. She's stressed about the quarter-end reports. She's worried about her dad's upcoming surgery. She's processing Jessica having another baby when we'd stopped trying after the 3rd miscarriage. You tell yourself anything except the obvious. I set the glass on my nightstand coaster be damned and picked up my own phone. Pulled up our shared credit card account. There it was, Marriott downtown Denver. 167.39 timestamp, 11:23 p.m. Not even a nice room. The kind of rate you get when you book last minute. When you don't plan ahead, because planning ahead means admitting what you're doing. The house felt different suddenly. Our house. The one where we'd stripped wallpaper until 3 a.m., laughing and drinking wine from plastic cups. Where we'd had that legendary fight about the kitchen backsplash that ended with us slow dancing to Fleetwood Mac in the demolished kitchen. Where I'd held her through 3 losses, and she'd held me when Dad died. This house knew us, and now it knew this too. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I sat in the living room with my laptop doing what any reasonable person would do at 3 a.m., investigating my wife's digital footprints like some sort of amateur detective. Her Google location sharing showed her at Jessica's address. But Google could be fooled. You just had to leave your phone where you said you'd be. The thing about Lauren is she's always been meticulous. It's what makes her such a good forensic accountant. She can spot a discrepancy in a 1,000-line spreadsheet like a bloodhound catching a scent. She rebuilds financial crimes from breadcrumbs, traces embezzlement through ghost transactions. The irony wasn't lost on me as I scrolled through our shared calendar looking for patterns. There, 6 weeks ago. Client dinner late. 3 weeks ago. Quarterly review prep, office. Last Tuesday. Gym class moved to evening. All of them followed by mornings where she'd been especially affectionate, making my coffee just right, asking about my day with unusual focus. Guilt gestures. I recognized them now with the clarity of hindsight. My phone buzzed. Lauren, 6:14 a.m. Morning, babe. Jessica had a rough night with the baby. Might stay another day to help out. Love you. I stared at the message. Typed, how's the Marriott? Deleted it. Typed, sure. Give Jess my love. Sent. The 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, thanks. You're the best. That heart emoji. We'd been sending each other that specific purple heart for years. It was our thing started when we were dating, and purple was her favorite color. Now it felt like a knife between my ribs. I called in sick to work, First time in 2 years. Marcus, my team lead, actually sounded concerned. You okay, Brian? This isn't like you. Just a bug, I said, staring at our wedding photo on the mantel. Lauren's smile was radiant in that picture, her eyes crinkled at the corners the way they did when she was truly happy. I'll be fine tomorrow. But I wouldn't be fine tomorrow, or the next day, or any day until I knew. I drove to Jessica's house in Boulder, parked down the street like some kind of stalker. Lauren's blue Honda Civic sat in the driveway exactly where it should be. For a moment, relief flooded through me. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe. Then I saw it. The parking permit on her dashboard. Denver Downtown Zone B. Today's date. My hands shook as I took a photo. Evidence. The word felt foreign in the context of my marriage. Evidence was for crimes, for court cases, for other people's disasters. Not for Lauren and me. Not for the couple who'd once driven 16 hours straight to surprise her mom for her 60th birthday, taking turns at the wheel and singing along to terrible 90s music. I knocked on Jessica's door. She answered, holding the baby, dark circles under her eyes, spit up on her shoulder. Brian, what are you? Is Lauren here? The pause told me everything. That fraction of a second where her eyes darted left, where her mouth opened without words coming out. She ran to grab coffee. Should be back soon. Jessica. Brian, Please don't. I turned and walked back to my car. Behind me, I heard her call Lauren's name into her phone before the door shut. My phone exploded with calls on the drive home. Lauren, Jessica, Lauren, Lauren, Lauren. I let them all go to voicemail, let her wonder, let her feel what I'd felt at 2:47 a.m., that free fall when the ground disappears. At home, I did what I should have done weeks ago. I looked, really looked. The credit card statements showed a pattern once I knew what to search for. Charges at restaurants I'd never heard of. 2 drinks at Vesper Lounge. A place she'd told me about said it was too pretentious when I'd suggested we try it. A charge at Nordstrom for $240 that she'd said was a work dress, but our credit card statement showed it was in the men's department. Her laptop was in her office, the one we'd converted from the theoretical nursery after the 3rd loss. Password protected, but I knew all her passwords. We'd shared everything, or so I'd thought. Her email revealed nothing. Too smart for that. But her photo cloud syncing automatically, silently uploading truth. There he was, Ryan Fitzgerald. I knew the name. Her co-worker, the one she'd mentioned, started 6 months ago. Transferred from the Dallas office, going through a divorce. She'd felt sorry for him, she'd said. He was having a hard time adjusting. The photos weren't explicit. That almost made it worse. They were intimate. Her laughing at something he'd said across a restaurant table, the kind of unguarded laugh I hadn't seen in months. A selfie of them at what looked like Red Rocks Amphitheater, her head tilted against his shoulder. Another at someone's house party, his hand on her lower back, proprietary and comfortable. But the one that broke me was simple. Her coffee mug, the one with "World's Okayest Wife," that I'd bought her as a joke, sitting on an unfamiliar kitchen counter. A man's watch beside it. Not my watch. The morning light streaming through windows I didn't recognize, catching the steam rising from the coffee. A Sunday morning photo. She'd told me she was at a work conference in Aspen that weekend. I heard the garage door open. Lauren came in like a hurricane keys, clattering on the counter, heels clicking fast on the hardwood. "Brian, babe, Jessica called and said..." She stopped in the doorway of the living room, saw my face, saw her laptop open on the coffee table. "Huh," I said. She went pale, sat down slowly on the chair across from me, not the couch beside me where she usually sat. The geography of endings. How long?" I asked. "Brian..." "How long, Lauren?" She looked at her hands. The engagement ring I'd saved 6 months for caught the afternoon light. 4 months. 4 months? 16 weeks. Spring into summer. While we'd celebrated our anniversary at that Italian place. While we'd gone to her cousin's wedding and slow danced to At Last. While I'd held her hair back when she got food poisoning. While we'd lived our life, except we hadn't been living the same life at all. "Do you love him?" The question surprised both of us. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know." "You don't know." "Brian, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for me to find out for any of it." She was really crying now. The ugly kind where your nose runs and your mascara gives up entirely. "I've been trying to end it. I have. But every time You were with him last night." Yes, the simple admission hit harder than any excuse would have. I stood up, needed to move, to not be sitting across from her like we were negotiating a business deal. "I called Tom," I said. "Tom Whaler, the divorce attorney who'd handled my colleague Sarah's split. He can see us Thursday." "Brian, wait. Can we talk about this? We are talking about it. I mean, really talk. Maybe counseling. We could try..." "Were you thinking about counseling last night at the Marriott?" She flinched. "That's not fair." "Fair." I laughed, but it came out wrong, sharp, and bitter. "Fair would have been you telling me you were unhappy. Fair would have been trying to fix this before you..." I couldn't say it. Couldn't put words to what she'd done, make it real in our living room where we'd opened Christmas presents and hosted game nights and planned a future that apparently only I was still living in. My phone rang. Mark is probably wondering about tomorrow. I let it go to voicemail. "Who else knows?" I asked. "What? Who else knows about you and Ryan? Jessica, obviously." She nodded miserably. "And Caitlin, her work friend. Maybe a few others at the office suspect. Great, wonderful. So I'm the last to know." It wasn't like that. So what was it like then? Help me understand, Lauren. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been lying to me for months, while everyone else got to be in on the secret. She stood up, pacing now, her hands moving the way they did when she was working through a complex problem. "You want to know what it was like? It was like drowning. It was like being in this life that looked perfect from the outside, but felt like I was suffocating every single day. Because of me." "No, yes, I don't know." She stopped pacing, leaned against the window. "After the last miscarriage, when you said we should stop trying, that we could be happy, just us..." "You agreed. You said you were relieved." I lied. The words hung between us. I wasn't relieved. I was devastated. But you seemed so sure, so ready to move on. And I thought maybe if I pretended long enough, I'd feel it too. "So you had an affair?" "No, that's not. It wasn't about that. Ryan just..." He listened. He'd been through loss too. His ex had a stillbirth. He understood the grief in a way that I didn't. Lauren, I was grieving too. Because you went back to work the next day like nothing happened. You painted the nursery back to beige that weekend. You never wanted to talk about it. That was my way of dealing with it. And this was mine. We stood there on opposite sides of our living room, the coffee table between us like a boardroom negotiation. Everything about us had become geography and distance. I need you to leave, I said quietly. Pack a bag, stay at Jessica's. Actually, stay there this time. But Brian, please. She went upstairs. I heard drawers opening, the closet door, the zip of a suitcase. Normal sounds that weren't normal at all. When she came back down, she was carrying the weekend bag we'd bought for our trip to Napa 3 years ago. I'm sorry, she said at the door. I know that doesn't mean anything right now, but I am. You're a good man. You deserve better than this. I deserved honesty. Yes, she left. The house settled into silence, the kind that has weight to it. I sat on the couch and looked at the indent her body had left in her chair. Still warm, my phone buzzed. Sarah of all people. Brian Tom Wheeler just called me for a reference. Are you okay? Do you need anything? The divorce lawyers network apparently worked faster than the speed of light. I texted back, no, thanks. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my brother in Chicago. Brian. Pete sounded surprised. We usually just texted mostly about sports and Dad's estate stuff. Everything okay? No, I said, and telling him that admitting it out loud to someone who'd known me since I was born broke something loose in me. No, everything's not okay. I told him everything. The Marriott, the photos, Ryan Fitzgerald, and his expensive watch. Pete listened without interrupting, occasionally making sounds that let me know he was still there. You want me to fly out? He asked when I finished. No, I don't know. Maybe. I'm looking at flights. I can be there tomorrow afternoon. Pete! Shut up! I'm coming! That's when I really lost it. Sitting in my empty house, my brother booking a flight he probably couldn't afford, my wife's coffee mug still in the sink from 2 days ago. I cried like I hadn't since Dad's funeral. Big gulping sobs that hurt my chest and left me exhausted. Later, after I'd pulled myself together, enough to make a sandwich I couldn't eat, I opened my laptop again. This time not to investigate Lauren, but to understand something else. I pulled up my calendar from the past year, looked at the patterns of my own life. There it was in black and white. The week after the 3rd miscarriage, I'd worked 62 hours. The next week, 65. I'd thrown myself into the Henderson project, the Patterson audit, the Mitchell consultation. I'd painted not just the nursery, but the guest bathroom, the hallway, the garage. I'd joined a boxing gym, started running before dawn, filled every moment with motion so I wouldn't have to be still. Lauren had been still. She'd sat in that converted office for hours. She'd taken long baths, she'd gone to therapy, alone. Because I'd said I was fine, I didn't need to talk to anyone about it. That didn't excuse what she'd done, but it reframed it. The next morning, Pete arrived with a duffel bag and a case of beer. Figured you might need both, he said, pulling me into a hug that lasted longer than our usual backslap greetings. I have to go to work, I said. I've got the Mitchell presentation. Fuck the Mitchell presentation. I can't. If I don't show up, everyone will know something's wrong. Pete studied me. Everyone's going to know anyway, Brian. He was right, of course. But I went anyway, put on my best suit, the charcoal one Lauren had picked out for me last Christmas. Armor for the day ahead. The office felt different, or maybe I was just paranoid. Did Caitlin's smile seem forced when I passed her in the hall? Did the accounting team stop talking when I walked by their cubicles? Marcus pulled me aside after the presentation. "You killed it in there," he said. Mitchell was impressed. "Thanks." "You sure you're okay? You seem off." "Just some personal stuff." He nodded, didn't push. That's what I appreciated about Marcus. He knew when to leave things alone. But not everyone had that instinct. Around lunch, Caitlin appeared at my office door. "Brian, can we talk?" I looked up from the spreadsheet I'd been staring at without seeing. If this is about Lauren... It is! She came and closed the door behind her. "I want you to know I told her to end it. Months ago. I told her she was making a mistake. But you didn't tell me. She's my friend. It wasn't my place." "Right. Girl code or whatever." Caitlin's face hardened. "That's not fair. I was put in an impossible position. I tried to get her to talk to you, to go to counseling, to do anything but what she was doing. But I couldn't make her choices for her. You could have given me a heads up." "Could I really? Would you have wanted to hear it from me? Would you have believed me?" I thought about it. "I don't know." "Exactly." She turned to leave, then stopped. "For what it's worth, I think Ryan's an asshole. He knew she was married. He pursued her anyway when she was vulnerable. That doesn't excuse what she did, but just know that not everyone thinks you're the bad guy here." After she left, I sat with that information. Ryan had pursued her when she was vulnerable. After the miscarriage, probably when she was drowning, and I was building walls. My phone rang. "Lauren." "Huh," I answered. "Hi. I just wanted to let you know I've been to see a lawyer too. Diane Hutchinson." I knew the name. She was good. Expensive. "Okay. I don't want this to get ugly, Brian." "Then you shouldn't have fucked Ryan Fitzgerald." Silence. "Then I deserve that." "You deserve a lot more than that." "Maybe. But I'm trying to do the right thing now. I'll take responsibility. We can do this amicably. 50-50 on the assets, no alimony either way. Clean break." "What about the house?" "We sell it. Split the proceeds." I looked around my office, the certificates on the wall. The photo of us at the Grand Canyon that I'd have to take down now. "Fine. Brian, I know you hate me right now." "I don't hate you." It was true. I felt a lot of things: betrayed, hurt, angry, confused, but not hate. "I just don't know you anymore." "I don't know me anymore either," she said quietly. We hung up without goodbye. That evening, Pete and I sat on the back deck, working our way through the beer he'd brought. The neighbors were having a barbecue. The smell of grilling meat drifting over the fence along with the sound of kids playing. "You remember when Dad left, Mom?" Pete asked suddenly. I looked at him in surprise. "We never talked about that. We were kids. You were 10, I was 7, old enough to remember." "Yeah, I remember. Mom never told us the real reason. Just said they grew apart." "People do grow apart." Pete took a long pull of his beer. "He had an affair with his secretary." Such a fucking cliche. "How do you know that?" Mom told me, years later when I was getting married. Said she wanted me to know that marriages take work, that you can't just coast. He laughed bitterly. Lot of good that advice did me. Pete's own marriage had ended 5 years ago. Why didn't you ever tell me? You idolized Dad, especially after he died. I didn't want to take that from you. We sat in silence, watching the sun drop behind the mountains. The air was cooling that high-altitude shift from day to night that happened fast in Denver. Now the thing is, Pete continued, Mom forgave him. He ended it. They went to counseling. They worked it out. They had another 10 years before the divorce, and those were actually good years. Remember that trip to Yellowstone? So, yeah. It had been one of the best vacations we'd had as a family. So maybe this doesn't have to be the end, if you don't want it to be. She doesn't know if she loves him. But she knows she loves you, or loved you. That's 14 years, Brian. That's not nothing. It feels like nothing right now. I know. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, then saw the preview. You should know who you're really married to. I opened it. A photo was attached. Lauren and Ryan at what looked like an office party. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. It was the date stamp. 6 months ago. 2 months before she'd said it started. Another text. Check her Venmo. And Lauren B. 303. What is it? Pete asked, seeing my face. I pulled up Venmo, found Lauren's account. Her transactions were public. She'd never bothered to make them private. There, going back 8 months, payments to Ryan Fitz 80. For lunch, gas money, concert ticket. Small amounts, nothing suspicious individually. But the pattern was clear. But Brian, I showed him the phone. Who sent this? I don't know. But I had a suspicion. I texted back. Who is this? The response came quickly. Someone who knows what it's like to be cheated on. Check your LinkedIn messages. I did. There was a message from 3 weeks ago that had gone to my spam folder. Natalie Fitzgerald, Ryan's ex-wife, I said. The message was brief. I think we should talk. Your wife is making a mistake. Ryan destroyed our family, and now he's destroying yours. I called the number she'd included. She answered on the first ring. Brian? Yeah. I'm sorry to do it this way. I tried to reach out earlier, but I wasn't sure if you knew. I found out 2 days ago. I'm sorry. I know how that feels. I found out about Ryan's affairs, plural, 6 months into our divorce proceedings. He'd been cheating our entire marriage. Affairs, plural. 3 that I know of. Probably more. He targets married women, easier to keep secret, less likely to demand commitment. Your wife isn't special to him. She's just the current one. I felt sick. Does Lauren know? I tried to tell her. Sent her an email 2 months ago warning her. She blocked me. Jesus! There's more. The stillbirth he told her about. We never had a stillbirth. We had a healthy daughter. She's 5 now. He uses that story to connect with women who've had pregnancy losses. I saw him do it at a grief support group once. That's how I knew he was targeting your wife. I couldn't speak. Pete took the phone from me. This is Brian's brother. Can you send any proof of what you're saying? Check your email, Natalie said. I just sent everything. Pete pulled up my email on my phone. There it was, a folder of screenshots, emails, credit card records. Ryan, with different women, the same patterns, the same lies. Why didn't you warn me sooner? I asked, taking the phone back. I tried, but you weren't the one who needed to hear it. Lauren was, and she didn't want to listen. After we hung up, Pete and I sat in the darkness. The neighbor's party had wound down. Somewhere a dog barked. You have to tell her, Pete said. She made her choice. She made her choice based on lies. She still chose to cheat. Yeah, but she should know who she cheated with. I forwarded Natalie's email to Lauren with 2 words. Call me, she called within minutes. What is this? The truth about Ryan. And this is just his bitter ex-wife trying to... Lauren, he lied about the stillbirth. They have a daughter. Her name is Emma. She's 5 years old. Silence! He's done this before. Multiple times. It's a pattern. No. Her voice was small. No, he wouldn't. Call Natalie yourself if you don't believe me. Her number's in the email. I have to go. She hung up. I looked at Pete. Think she'll call, wouldn't you? An hour later, my phone rang. Lauren again. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Can you come get me? She managed. Please, I'm at Ryan's and I can't drive like this. Where's your car? I threw my keys at him. They're somewhere in his apartment. I don't care. I just need to leave. Lauren, please, Brian. I know I have no right to ask, but please. I looked at Pete. He grabbed his keys. I'll drive. You might need a witness. Ryan lived in one of those new apartment complexes in Rhino, all exposed brick and industrial chic. Lauren was sitting on the curb, outside mascara, streaked down her face, still wearing her work clothes. She looked up when we pulled up, and the relief on her face was painful to see. Thank you, she said, climbing into the back seat. I didn't know who else to call. What happened? Pete asked. I confronted him about the lies. He admitted it. All of it. Said it didn't matter because what we had was real. She laughed hollow and broken. Real. He doesn't even know what that word means. As we drove away, I saw a figure in one of the lit windows above, Ryan watching us leave. He raised his hand in what might have been a wave or might have been a dismissal. I didn't care enough to figure out which. Back at the house, I couldn't think of it as our house anymore. Lauren sat at the kitchen table while Pete made coffee. She looked smaller, somehow diminished. I'm an idiot, she said. You're not an idiot. He's a predator. She looked at me in surprise. You're defending me. No, I'm stating a fact. What you did was wrong. What he did was calculated. I threw away our marriage for a lie. You threw away our marriage because you were unhappy. Ryan was just the excuse. She started crying again. I don't know how to fix this. You can't. We can't. Some things can't be fixed, Lauren. Pete set coffee in front of us, then excused himself to the back deck, giving us privacy. I loved you, Lauren said quietly. I need you to know that. Whatever else happened, I loved you. I know. Do you still love me? I thought about it, really thought about it. I love who you were, who we were. But that's not who we are now. Could we be with counseling with time? I don't know. I don't think so. The trust is gone. Trust can be rebuilt. Can it? Every time you're late from work, every time you get a text, every time you smile at your phone, I'd wonder. That's no way to live. She nodded, accepting it. What do we do now? We get divorced. We sell the house. We move on. Just like that. It's never just like that. But yeah, we sat there drinking coffee in the kitchen we'd renovated together, surrounded by the ghosts of better times. Finally, Lauren stood. I should go, Jessica's expecting me. Actually, go to Jessica's this time. I will. She paused at the door. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not just for Ryan, for all of it. For not being honest about what I needed. For letting it get this far. For hurting you. I'm sorry too. For checking out after the miscarriages. For not seeing that you were drowning. We both made mistakes. Yeah, but mine didn't involve another person's penis. She laughed, surprised and genuine. Fair point. After she left, Pete came back in. You okay? No, but I will be. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers and paperwork. True to her word, Lauren didn't fight me on anything. 50-50 split, no drama. The house sold quickly, the market was hot, and we'd kept it in good condition. I found an apartment downtown walking distance to work. It was smaller than the house, obviously, but it had good light and a view of the mountains. The first night there, I sat on the floor. Furniture hadn't been delivered yet, eating takeout Chinese and watching the sunset. It was quiet in a different way than the house had been. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of possibility. Tom Wheeler had done a good job. The divorce was clean, efficient. One of the easier ones I've handled, he told me. You're both being remarkably civil. We're trying. That's rare. Usually there's at least one party who wants blood. Maybe we're just too tired for blood. Work became my refuge. I threw myself into projects, stayed late, volunteered for the complicated audits everyone else avoided. Marcus noticed but didn't comment, just made sure I was included in the team lunches, the after-work drinks. Caitlin and I developed an unexpected friendship. She'd check in periodically, never mentioning Lauren unless I did first. One day, she brought me coffee and a donut. Divorce diet. I asked, looking at the donut. Divorce gift. The diet comes later when you start dating again. That's not happening for a long time. Good. Take your time. But when you're ready, I have a friend. Caitlin. I'm just saying. Eventually. 3 months after that night at the Marriott, I ran into Ryan at a coffee shop downtown. He was with a woman I didn't recognize, leaning in close, his hand on her wrist. Same moves, different target. He saw me, had the audacity to nod in acknowledgement. I walked over. Brian, he said, straightening, I don't care. I looked at the woman. He's married. Or was. He lies about dead children to get sympathy. He's done this before, and he'll do it again. The woman's eyes widened. Ryan's face flushed red. You don't know what you're talking about, he started. Emma Fitzgerald, 5 years old, lives with her mother in Castle Rock. Want me to keep going? I walked out before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but it felt good, like something poisonous had been expelled. That afternoon, I got a text from Lauren. Heard what you did. Thank you. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. The seasons changed. Summer into fall, fall into winter. I joined a hiking group, started rock climbing at a gym in Golden. My brother visited every few months, and we developed a routine: beer, basketball games, avoiding heavy topics. One December evening, almost a year after everything fell apart, I was at the grocery store when I saw her. Lauren in the cereal aisle, comparing nutrition labels like she always did. She looked good, different, her hair was shorter. She'd lost weight, but good. She saw me and froze. We stood there 20 feet apart, shoppers moving between us like water around stones. Hi, she said. Hi, you look good. Thanks, you too. I'm seeing someone, she blurted out, then looked mortified. I don't know why I said that. It's okay. That's good. I hope he's better than the last one. He is. He's divorced too. Has kids. It's complicated but honest. Good. Are you? No, not yet. Getting there. She nodded. Brian, we don't need to do this. I know. I just wanted to say that I think about it sometimes. What we had before everything went wrong. It was good. It was. I'm glad we had it. Me too. She smiled, sad but genuine, and walked away. I stood there for a moment, then continued shopping. The encounter should have hurt more than it did. Instead, it felt like closing a book I'd finally finished reading. 6 months later, I started dating Sarah from accounting. Not Caitlin's friend that had been a disaster, but Sarah from my Thursday night climbing group. She was divorced too, understood the baggage, the triggers, the strange grief of losing a future you'd planned. Our first kiss was at the summit of Mount Evans, both of us out of breath from the altitude and exertion. She laughed against my mouth and said, "This is either really romantic or really dangerous." "Oh, both," I said, and kissed her again. We took it slow. Dinners that weren't dates until they were. Climbing sessions that turned into coffee, then drinks, then breakfast. She had her own apartment, her own life, her own scars. We fit together carefully, aware of our sharp edges. Pete met her during one of his visits. Afterward, he pulled me aside. "She's nothing like Lauren." "I know. That's not a criticism. It's an observation." "I know. He studied me. You're different too." He was right. I was different. The Brian who'd stood in his bedroom at 2:47 a.m. staring at a Marriott notification felt like someone I'd known once but couldn't quite remember. Not better or worse, just different, shaped by the breaking and the mending. Sarah and I were at a restaurant downtown when I saw them. Lauren and her new boyfriend sitting 3 tables over. She was laughing at something he'd said, that unguarded laugh I remembered. He looked nice, normal middle-aged, a little soft around the middle. Safe. She saw me and our eyes met across the restaurant. A moment of recognition of shared history. She raised her wine glass slightly, a tiny salute. I nodded back. "Old friend Sarah?" asked, following my gaze. "Something like that." She didn't push, and I loved her for it. Not the desperate, consuming love I'd felt for Lauren in the beginning, or the comfortable, assumed love of our middle years. This was different, chosen, deliberate, eyes wide open. That night in Sarah's apartment, she asked, "Do you ever regret it? The divorce?" I thought about it. No, I regret what led to it. I regret the pain, but not the divorce itself. Why? Because I wouldn't be here otherwise. And here is good. She smiled, traced a pattern on my chest. Here is good. The next morning I woke. Early, went for a run. The path took me past the old house, the one Lauren and I had bought, when we thought we knew what our future looked like. A young family lived there now. They'd painted the door blue, added a swing set in the backyard. Kids' bikes were scattered on the lawn. I stopped caught. my breath, watched the sun hit the windows of what used to be our bedroom. For a moment, I could see it all, Lauren and me, young and certain, painting those walls, planning those rooms, believing in forever. But forever is a story we tell ourselves, a comfort against the uncertainty. The truth is messier, more fragile, more human. We make promises we can't keep. We hurt people we claim to love. We survive things we think will kill us. I started running again, feet finding their rhythm on the familiar path. Behind me, the house got smaller, became just another house on just another street. Ahead, the mountains caught the morning light, permanent and changing all at once. My phone buzzed. "Sarah, breakfast, I'm making pancakes." I texted back, "On my way." The run home was easier downhill. Mostly the morning air sharp and clean in my lungs. I thought about pancakes, about Sarah's terrible coffee, that I'd grown to love, about the climbing trip we'd planned for next weekend. Love, I'd learned, wasn't the grand narrative I'd believed in at 25. It wasn't the desperate passion or the comfortable assumption or even the bitter ending. It was smaller than that and larger. It was choosing to trust after betrayal. It was pancakes on a Sunday morning. It was raising a wine glass to your ex-husband across a restaurant, acknowledging what was without mourning, what could have been. I made it to Sarah's building as the city was waking up. Took the stairs, 2 at a time, knocked on her door. She answered wearing my old Columbia sweatshirt, the one I'd been looking for flour in her hair. "You stole my sweatshirt. You left it here. Possession is 9/10 of the law. I want it back. Make me." I kissed her tasted coffee and possibility. Behind her, smoke started rising from the stove. "I shit the pancakes." We salvaged what we could, ate the burnt edges with too much syrup, laughed at the disaster of her kitchen. Outside, Denver went about its Sunday business. Inside, we built something new from the pieces of who we'd become. Later, Sarah would ask me when I knew I'd truly moved on from my divorce. I'd think about it, consider various moments, signing the papers, moving into my apartment, that encounter in the grocery store. But the real answer was simpler and more complicated. It was the morning I woke up and didn't check Lauren's Instagram. When I made coffee and didn't remember how she took hers. When I saw a Marriott and thought only of travel, not betrayal. It wasn't a single moment, but 1,000 small ones, each one a choice to look forward instead of back. The healing wasn't linear. There were setbacks, triggers, days when the anger returned sharp and fresh. Songs that ambushed me, restaurants I couldn't enter, the smell of her perfume on a stranger sending me spinning. But each time the recovery was faster, the scar tissue thicker. I learned things I wished I'd known earlier. That love alone isn't enough to save a marriage. That two good people can still hurt each other beyond repair. That ending something doesn't mean it failed. Sometimes the ending is the success, the brave choice, the kindness. A year into dating, Sarah, she moved in. We negotiated space and habits, learned each other's rhythms. She was messier than Lauren, but more direct, less organized, but more spontaneous. Comparisons were inevitable at first, then gradually irrelevant. Sarah wasn't Lauren's replacement. She was her own person, our own story. We had a housewarming party. Pete flew in, bringing his new girlfriend. Marcus and his wife. Came Caitlin and her husband. Even Jessica showed up. Lauren's sister was awkward at first, but warming after a few drinks. We'd maintained an unexpected friendship, bonded by our shared loss of Lauren in different ways. She asks about you. Jessica told me quietly on the balcony, away from the party noise. Yeah, not directly. But she'll mention something, a restaurant you liked, a movie you saw together. Testing the waters of memory. How is she? Good. Different. Therapy helped. The new guy is stable kind. They're talking about moving in together. Good for her. Do you mean that? I considered it. Yeah, I do. Jessica studied me. You've both changed so much. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if... You don't. I said it gently. That way lies madness. You're right. She raised her beer. To moving forward. To moving forward. Later that night, after everyone had left and Sarah was asleep, I stood on the balcony looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Lauren was living her life. Maybe standing on her own balcony, maybe happy, maybe not. We'd shared 14 years, 3 miscarriages, 1 spectacular failure. We'd been each other's most important person, then strangers, then something in between. The story could have ended differently. If I'd seen her drowning, if she'd been honest about her needs, if Ryan Fitzgerald had never transferred from Dallas, if. But that's not how stories work. They move forward, not backward, shaped by choices we make and chances we take, and sometimes just the random collision of events that changes everything. My phone lit up with a notification. Not a Marriott app this time, but a calendar reminder. Climbing trip. Leave at 5 a.m. I went inside, set the coffee maker for 4:30, kissed Sarah's shoulder. She mumbled something, pulled me closer. In the morning, we'd drive to the mountains, spend the day clinging to rock faces, trusting ropes and each other. It would be dangerous and exhilarating and worth it. But tonight, we just held on 2 people who'd been broken and mended, finding comfort in the dark. Outside, the city hummed its nighttime song. Inside, we wrote our own story, word by word, day by day, choice by choice. The diamond ring I'd bought was hidden in my climbing gear, waiting for the right moment, the right mountain, the right question. Not a promise of forever, I'd learned better than that, but a promise of now, of trying, of building something with eyes wide open. Sarah shifted, murmured my name, not in passion or need, just acknowledgement. You're here, I'm here, we're here. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything.